He knew every answer. Then he forgot them all. That's when he started to win. The cost of knowing too much. 1. Marcus had not been surprised in 11 years. Every meeting ended before it began. Every problem arrived already solved. People called this intelligence. Marcus had started to suspect it was a form of death. He was always the first to speak. Not because he was eager, but because the silence after a question had become unbearable to him. It was the silence of a room waiting for something he had already placed on the table. His wife stopped finishing her sentences around him, not out of anger, out of something quieter than anger. The way you stop knocking on a door. You know we'll open before your knuckles land. He drove home one evening and realized he could not remember a single face from the meeting he had just left. He remembered every answer he had given. 2. In the city where Marcus lived, knowledge was worn on the skin, not as metaphor as fact. Each thing a person mastered left a faint mark, a thickening, barely visible, along the forearms and the neck. The learned men and women of the city moved through crowds like ships through shallow water, their skin pale and dense as old paper. The elders were remarkable to look at. Children reached up to touch them, the way people touch statues, carefully, as though warmth was no longer expected. The elders would smile and step away, not unkindly, just reflexively, as though the gesture startled them, as though they had forgotten long ago what it felt like to be reached for. Their skin had not hardened against the world. It had hardened against the need to be surprised by it. 3. Marcus found the physician at the edge of the city, in a building with no sign, and a door left slightly open. She was old. Her skin was smooth. He understood immediately that smooth was not the same as young. "You want the removal?" she said. It was not a question. "I want to know if it works," he said. She looked at him the way a locksmith looks at a lock someone has broken trying to open. "It works," she said. "The question is what you think works means." He told her what he wanted. To not know the answer before the room had finished asking. To feel the shape of a problem before reaching for its edges. To be, for the first time in 30 years, genuinely uncertain. She was quiet for a long time. "The removal is painful," she said finally. He said, "Is it more painful than this?" She did not answer. He had learned over decades that silence from a careful person is not the absence of an answer. It is the answer, offered gently. To someone who already knows, he scheduled the appointment. 4. He did not remember the procedure. He remembered before. He remembered after. Between them was a white space, the size of something important. A room he had walked through without being able to see the walls. The morning after, he stood in front of the coffee machine, genuinely unsure how it worked. He stood there for almost 4 minutes. It was the longest he had stood still in 11 years. Walking to the office, rain hit his face. He stopped. For several seconds, he could not remember. The last time he had actually felt weather, not registered it, not noted it, but felt it. The specific coldness of it, the way it arrived without warning, the way it did not ask whether he was ready. He was late to his first meeting back. He sat in the wrong chair. When the problem came up, a distribution failure, 3 regional offices cascading delays, he did not speak. He listened. He heard things he had never heard before, the hesitation between sentences, the question hiding inside the statement, the thing the junior analyst said quietly, almost to herself. That was not the whole answer, but was the beginning of one. No one in the room had considered. Marcus wrote it down. He said, "Tell me more about that." She looked up. She looked up the way people look up, when they have been speaking into the air for years, and something finally catches the sound. 5. He did not become wise by learning more. He became useful again by making room, not the room of an empty mind. He was not starting over, not performing humility, not pretending ignorance, for the approval of people. who had read about humility in books. He was doing the harder thing, holding what he knew behind him, instead of in front of him, using it as ballast, not as armor. The answers were still there. They always would be, but a man who places his answer on the table before the question has finished forming is not sharing what he knows. He is protecting himself from the fear that the question might be one he cannot answer. The armor was never for the room. It was always for him. 3 years after the procedure, a young architect came to him with a problem no one in her firm could solve. She talked for a long time. Marcus said almost nothing. At the end, she said, "What do you think?" He said, "I think you already know." She went still. Then she said the thing she had been circling for 40 minutes, the thing she had come to him hoping someone else would say first, so she would not have to be responsible for it. It was correct. It was also frightening. It was also unmistakably hers. She left without thanking him. She came back 6 months later and told him what had happened. He had forgotten her name by then. He remembered her face. He remembered the exact quality of the silence before she spoke, the weight of it, the way it felt like weather arriving without asking. He had not forgotten how to feel that. He had simply finally learned to wait for it. 7. Marcus had not been surprised in 11 years. Then he spent 1 year learning how to be surprised again. He lost something he cannot name. He gained something he cannot explain. That exchange between the armor you have built and the weather you have stopped feeling is where this story ends, and where your question begins. What are you protecting yourself from? The world's uncertainty, or your own? And is your skin still thin enough to feel the rain?